There's something sitting in almost every kitchen on Earth right now that engineers once used to keep an entire house cool through a summer without a single moving part, without a single electrical connection, and without a single dollar spent on a utility bill. It costs less than a bag of fertilizer. It's been understood by scientists for over 3 centuries. And the reason you've never seen it built into a home has almost nothing to do with whether it works, because it does, and everything to do with the fact that it only needs to be bought once. We're talking about a specific industrial salt. And this is the story of how it almost changed the way humans cool their buildings, who buried it, and exactly how you can put it to work today. Here's the problem with modern cooling that nobody frames correctly. Air conditioners don't actually solve heat. They move it. A compressor pulls heat from inside your room and dumps it outside. Mechanically, expensively, constantly. The moment it switches off, the heat comes back. You're not removing the problem. You're just running hard enough to stay ahead of it. The average American household spends over $400 a year on cooling alone. That number climbs every decade. The equipment needs refrigerant, needs servicing, needs replacement. And the peak electricity hours when your home hits maximum temperature in the afternoon are exactly when the grid charges you the most. You are paying the highest possible price to fight the most predictable physical event of every single day. Now here's what makes this worth talking about. The people who figured out a fundamentally different approach didn't work for a tech company. They weren't funded by a government lab. Some of them lived 500 years ago and worked with nothing but clay pots and observation. What they understood, and what got quietly shelved in the 20th century, is that certain materials don't just slow down heat. They swallow it. The physics has a name: latent heat. When a material changes state, from solid to liquid, for example, it absorbs an enormous amount of energy from its surroundings without getting noticeably hotter itself. The energy goes into breaking the molecular structure, not into raising the temperature. Ice does this when it melts. That's why a cold drink stays cold for a while, even in a warm room. The ice isn't just cold. It's actively pulling heat out of the liquid around it and locking that energy into the melting process. Now imagine building that property directly into the walls and ceiling of your home. Imagine a material that sits completely inert all morning, costs nothing while it waits. And then, right around the time your room starts climbing toward uncomfortable, it hits its threshold and begins to melt, silently absorbing the heat that would have sent your thermostat into overdrive. No switch, no signal. The chemistry does it automatically. That material exists. It's called sodium sulfate decahydrate. Industrial name, Glauber's salt, named after a German chemist who identified it in the 1600s. It melts at almost exactly 90 degrees Fahrenheit, right at the edge of human discomfort. And when it does, it absorbs over 100 BTUs of heat per pound. For comparison, 1 pound of ordinary water absorbs about 1 BTU per degree of temperature rise. This salt absorbs 100 times that, locked into the phase change, with barely any temperature rise at all. Pound for pound, a bin of Glauber's salt tucked into your ceiling carries roughly the heat buffering power of a substantial masonry wall at a tiny fraction of the weight and cost. And then, here's the part that makes it a complete system. When night falls and outdoor temperatures drop below that 90-degree threshold, the salt refreezes. It releases the day's stored heat into the cooler night air through a vent or an open window, and by morning it's fully solid again. A thermal battery. In 1948, a Hungarian-born chemist at MIT named Maria Telkes actually built this into a house. Working alongside architect Eleanor Raymond and funded by a private philanthropist, Telkes completed a residential building in Dover, Massachusetts that ran entirely on solar-heated Glauber's salt through the New England winter, with no furnace installed. The family living inside reported steady, even warmth through deep freezes and snowstorms. Telkes had also understood the reverse application. The same material that stores solar heat in winter absorbs room heat in summer. The physics doesn't care about direction. But MIT's engineering committee did care about appearances. The solar program's leadership favored mechanical systems, things that looked like engineering. Telkes was eventually pushed out of the program. The Dover house quietly received a conventional heating system as replacement. The proof of concept was shelved. What happened next wasn't a conspiracy. It was something more mundane and harder to fight. Post-war America was electrifying fast. Utility companies and appliance manufacturers ran a coordinated campaign, the Live Better Electrically push, certifying all electric homes as the modern standard. The window air conditioner went from tens of thousands of units sold in 1950 to over 1 million per year by the end of the decade. Cooling became an appliance category, not a building property. And once that happened, the entire regulatory and financial infrastructure rewired itself around the machine. Building codes were written around duct systems. Energy rebates were written around compressors. Architecture school curricula quietly dropped passive thermal design. The permit checklist assumed a mechanical system. A ceiling that absorbed heat chemically had no line on any form. It wasn't illegal. It simply didn't exist in the paperwork. And what can't be permitted can't be built at scale. Research from the Fraunhofer Institute showed that a few centimeters of PCM-enhanced plaster could match the thermal buffering of a brick wall many times its thickness. Monitored office buildings across Germany and Switzerland cut their afternoon cooling loads by 10 to 30%, measured across full seasons in real buildings, not projected from a lab. The numbers held up year after year. No maintenance schedule, no service contract, a bag of chemistry versus a $29 billion annual cooling industry. The math is not complicated. So here's how you actually use this at Hidden Fix lab scale. It's a practical version built around what's available right now. The simplest entry point is commercial PCM panels. These are pre-filled pouches of salt hydrates or plant-based waxes, sold by the square meter, designed to be laid above ceiling drywall or slip behind wall panels. Cost runs roughly $30 to $60 per square meter, depending on capacity. No wiring, no mechanical connection, no permit, because you're adding a material, not installing a system. Same legal category as insulation. Order a few square meters, place them in the hottest room of your home, and monitor your afternoon temperatures across a week. The effect is measurable, and it builds confidence for larger installs. The DIY version goes deeper. Glauber's salt is available as a raw industrial chemical. The critical addition is a small amount of thickening agent, typically borax at around 2% by weight, which prevents the salt from separating into layers during repeated melt cycles. The separation issue is exactly what ended the Dover House's original bins. Without stabilization, the crystals settle unevenly and the melt cycle degrades. With a small additive, the material stays consistent across hundreds of cycles. Seal the mixture into food-grade containers, place them in your attic or ceiling cavity above the living space, and pair the setup with ventilation that draws cool night air through that cavity after dark. The recharge cycle is everything. No night flush, no cool air moving through. The salt stays melted and the cooling effect stops. That's the single most important operational rule. A few things worth saying plainly. This technology works best in climates with a meaningful day-night temperature swing. The American Southwest, the Mountain West, much of continental Europe. In humid coastal climates where nights stay warm, the salt can't complete its recharge cycle and performance collapses. This is a peak shaving tool, not a full replacement for mechanical cooling in extreme heat. It reduces the load on your system and cuts the peak demand during the most expensive hours of the day. In the right climate, documented owner-builder projects have shaved indoor peak temperatures by several degrees, using nothing more than sealed salt containers and a small exhaust fan drawing less power than a reading light. The knowledge here is old. It was understood in India in the 1500s, refined across the Middle East, and demonstrated in a Massachusetts house before most people alive today were born. The physics never changed. What changed was who controlled the building material approval process and who wrote the rebate forms. Neither of those things changes the melting point of Glauber's salt. It was 90 degrees Fahrenheit in 1948. It's 90 degrees today. And it will be 90 degrees when every compressor ever manufactured has long since corroded into scrap. Maria Telkes spent decades watching her proof of concept get treated as a curiosity. The recognition eventually came. Awards, inductions, belated acknowledgement, but the houses she envisioned never got built at scale. Not because the idea failed, because the idea didn't generate a service contract. You now have the idea. What you do with it is entirely yours. Drop your location in the comments and tell me whether your summer nights cool down after dark, because that single factor determines whether this works on your house. And next week on Hidden Fix Lab, we're going into the one roofing technique that cut surface temperatures by over 30 degrees in controlled trials, and was standard practice in Southern European construction for a century before glass curtain walls made architects forget it existed.